This podcast is produced by OnPod, a video content studio near you. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we are with Angella Goran. Thanks for coming to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start and talk a little bit about TAPanGO Technology and what that is.
All right. So TAPanGO Technologies, the easiest way to explain it, because I think this is what the audience is going to want to understand, is we're where loyalty and marketplace meets banking and payments. So I always kind of say for the North American, we all know what Starbucks is, right? And we love our coffee. Well, some people do, maybe your tea. But if you go into Starbucks and you get Starbucks rewards, they lure you back into that loyalty that you're going to continue to earn Starbucks rewards dollars, that eventually you're going to get that free latte or coffee or tea that you really love.
And sometimes you have too many cards.
Yeah, you got too many of them. Exactly. So that's kind of the idea is I went and looked at what Starbucks was doing, and then I thought of everyday banking and all these prepaid card programs that were coming out. And I thought, could you build a technology that actually integrates all of these things from loyalty and banking and payments that we have and look at something like a Starbucks rewards where that's a passion that people have. I'm a coffee lover, just like you might be a wine lover, or, and I know we're going to get into it, is sports, right? And I thought, it's not just about one brand or merchant. Could I do this for a handful of them? So it's kind of that neat connection of Facebook Marketplace meets a loyalty play like an Aero Plan or Starbucks Rewards that comes together collectively for a niche market where people are passionate and they spend time and money. And it's our goal with our technology is to be able to integrate all of those functions and features to then be able to put money back into that loyalty play that consumer or that person has, right? So again, you're loyal to Starbucks, you go in, you've linked your credit card or your bank account to buy that Starbucks. They give you the rewards. And after 10 times going to Starbucks, they're like, hey, you've earned enough to buy a coffee. Would you like to use that or redeem that today? Yeah. Right. So think about that across hundreds or if not thousands of brands and something that you're passionate for. And now you can actually put some of that earned rewards or redeemed points back to something you actually care about versus like, let's face it, the point systems is, I always laugh. I'm like the $1 to 10,000 points. And then you try to phone the 1-800 number and you're about to get a divorce because you didn't book the flight. I wanted to simplify it. Let's put it that way.
So basically I could potentially use this for my business in a sense, right?
100%.
As a reward or referral maybe in a sense.
Affiliate. It's kind of got that MLM affiliate, right? It's got that. We've been asked so many times of like, hey, entertainment, the space where you think about you're opening up a business in the podcast space, you're buying equipment gear, you're traveling, you might be taking clients out to coffee or dinner. So you think of all the things that you're doing as a business owner. Imagine if you could get cash back because you're loyal to that constant brand that you're always buying from, right? That's kind of that's what TAPanGO Technologies is enabling. Instead of working with so many different third parties, we said, well, let's just build the tech and integrate it. It's not, kind of I think any smart person in tech, it's like, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I want to make it easier. So that's what we're doing.
And at first, was the first goal to solve problem for athletes and in sports enthusiasts?
Yeah. So it's the funny story, and there is a little bit of a story. I'll keep it short and sweet. I will take this number to my grave. TAPanGO Technologies was 8929637 Canada Inc. Literally for those that are listening and including my executive team, because for like 4 years we were pitching the business of ATHLETICA rewards with this numbered company because, to your point, we came up with this niche market based on some of my personal background as a professional athlete, going, man, you know what? Living an active lifestyle costs money. And there's a specific niche. If you're into cycling as much as I am, or you're into triathlon, or maybe into, Hydrox, which is a huge sport right now, or CrossFit, that's where you're spending time, right? That's your additional kind of cost. So that's what we started with and started to soon realize, based on some good mentors that I had, if we were going to build a technology that was going to be used in sports and wellness to make people afford that active lifestyle they love, could there be other niche markets that just because I'm into sports, that doesn't mean somebody else is? Right?
And so what are the niche market are you guys looking at?
So really, really neat when you think about where TAPanGO Technologies is going and growing into. Obviously with the sport realm, and we started thinking outside the box of what other niche markets are there. Being somebody who's in Canada, somebody who's young, I've been a renter and a tenant for quite some time since I graduated. I made a personal choice to invest elsewhere, including in my own business. I think you could appreciate that as a founder.
For sure.
I was really fascinated. There's a company in the US, a very smart founder called Built Rewards. And I thought, man, like this guy's got this right. And if we could build something to incentivize and truly offer a cashback play to the renter in Canada, this young person, because the average age of somebody who rents before home ownership, right? It's kind of like you leave home, you might rent for the first kind of undergrad degree, maybe your master's, or maybe you've backpacked around the world and you've come back and, it's kind of that next stage in life is home ownership. But between leaving home and home ownership, if you can afford to get into that, which is a huge conversation. So that's the next space. Like we're really passionate both with the program that's focused on sports, ATHLETICA rewards that's getting ready to go to market, and solely focused on amateur sports and student athletes with the name, image, likeness space that's blowing up in the US. And then on renter rewards, that's going to take off here in Canada.
And how's that going to work, renter rewards? Like, can you explain it a little bit more? Like, if I'm a renter, like, how does that work?
Totally. I'm so excited about this one. Number one, just because of being somebody in this position and knowing the space. I think there's a better way to immerse the platform to truly offer something that simplifies paying rent, being incentivized for paying your rent on time, building your credit, which we're seeing now as something that the Canadian government, hats off that they finally came up to say you can pay your rent and it accounts to building your credit score. So you have to get the landlord and or landlord groups to be on board to obviously report that to Equifax in this case, or TransUnion. Those are the two credit report bureaus. But over and above that, it's like really starting to say, like, imagine if you could not only pay your rent, but pay your utilities, buy your groceries, go to the pub that you love to go to, that local shop that you like to shop at, which now, hey, like we're all about supporting Canadian businesses. Imagine that marketplace like Arlene Dickinson's launching, that's all going to be Canadian made products, right? The kind of like the e-com or you want to say like the Facebook marketplace for Canadian businesses. And I thought that's what we want to do. So taking that cashback play that you could earn every month on your spend being a renter, and now you can save that rewards cash play that you're getting, that commission from those merchants, right? The Starbucks rewards. And you put that in, but imagine you being able to now access that cash to put towards next month's rent, put towards your groceries, maybe save for that vacation you want to do, maybe that house, because now you can put into a first-time home buyer's tax-free account, right? And you look at companies like Wealthsimple, shout out to Michael, the founder there, like brilliant model. So, great from a fintech, could API into Wealthsimple or any of the banks that are offering that as a service, and could say to somebody, hey, if you put some of these cash rewards, maybe you're earning $200 or $300 a month, but guess what, over a year, if you put that in towards a compound savings or into an investment vehicle, that could end up being worth quite a bit in 5 or 10 years time. And that's your deposit if you start that at 18 or 20 years old.
It seems a bit better than just the points that you're gaining, right? And then you can only use somehow, and so it seems a bit more like a better deal for your buck.
Yeah. And I think too, the resourcefulness on giving financial and wealth literacy. And I think that's something that's really missing. I say this all the time. It's like there's a big difference. And the whole idea behind renter and then building out renter rewards is one of the models is getting somebody in when they're young, or maybe they're in their late 30s even now, because we're seeing people go back home and start to save to try to make that down payment because let's face it, interest rates are going up, or they're going to stay where they are, which is they're still not as high as they were back in the 80s and 90s. I know my parents when they were spending 19%. So I get told that all the time, but I tell them, the cost of a house is no longer $100,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
The same thing.
So I think, it's kind of like where the market is. So, I'm excited because I think it's more also on the tools and the resources that we're going to put forward to really help the next gen on what does it mean to get out of debt, maybe not even incur as much debt, how to save, and how to make some smart investments and think about real estate as an investment versus, hey, I'm buying or getting into a house and I'm going to have to live there for the rest of my life and I'm going to have to be handcuffed to it, right? So
What challenge did you face in 2023 launching?
I think, like going back, like welcome to the world opening up. I'm like, I feel like I should be asking you the same question. 2023 was a really interesting year. I think like so many, I love to refer to the Friends show for people that haven't watched it, shame on you, but the famous like couch scene where they're like going up the stairs and like Ross is screaming, pivot. pivot, like the whole way.
I remember that.
That was, right. That was 2023. I was like, and I think we also, right. I found a new CTO that year. I'm absolutely, hats off. Like Adam is absolutely incredible. He owns a huge ad campaign content company that does stuff with live streaming. And I knew that him and his team were the right ones. So there was a lot of change in 2023. We came out of the pandemic and I kind of ripped a Band-Aid off. We had an open wound and we had a little bit of runway. We knew we needed to raise capital because we didn't do it in the pandemic. We didn't want to come out with a crypto scheme and value ourselves at a unicorn status and take on a $25 million check just because we were going to tokenize something, which became, as we saw, a lot happened in 2023. If you look back to payments, you had Silicon Valley Bank, kind of just go. It was gone, right? There was that happened. You had a ton of movement in the space. You had the court case against Robinhood. So I think fintechs and the crypto world, we got, really shamed. And it was really hard to go out and try to raise capital. So we did as best we could to think smart on what we needed to do, be resourceful and scrappy. Became really good at that, being like lean and mean. Not that we weren't in the pandemic. But, I think now I look back and I'm really grateful, for the team that I have and the commitment they've had for a long time. And I mean, a long time. It's not an overnight success, any of this kind of stuff in tech. So, I'm excited to see that we're now going to officially launch. I think my team are too.
That's good.
Yeah.
How do you build trust with athletes and partners in this space? Right?
Yeah,
because it's not easy.
It's not easy. Right? Yeah, you're totally So going back to, you've got TAPanGO Technologies, which is the overseeing company, which the consumer is not seen. And then we get into those programs and we've talked a little bit about building the athlete community, making the sport you love affordable. Then we've got the renter. On the athlete side, or anything that has to do with relationship building, I think it's more on the network that you've built over time. And I really truly believe any founder, you want to lean on those that you've already had a relationship with, and you go to them knowing that they're going to be really brutally honest on, this is not going to work or it isn't. So for me, athletics, because of the background as a pro athlete, and I retired in 2023, as you know, but for the listeners, I still hold today the elite UCI 1 hour indoor cycling record. And that was a ton of fun to put my shoes back on and do that. But it more so for me, it just paved the way because I had already worked personally with brands before that I could go back to and say, hey, I have this crazy idea, like Starbucks Rewards. Do you think you would be interested if I was to connect a payment rewards play to your brand? Would you be interested if I launched something like ATHLETICA Rewards? So that kind of, that took time. But when I kind of started to circulate it towards, like the top 20 friends, family, community that I have in that network, and the answer was yes all around, especially if there was no cost up front, I realized that there was a pay-to-play model that we didn't have to put as much out, and we could rely on these brands to be our reason to get consumers on board and start to transaction. So time will tell, obviously.
Yeah. And I think it's so important that you, like you said, it's to get feedback from the people that you're going to either sell to or help. Feedback is so important. So important. It's like, have you watched Silicon Valley? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I always call it don't do the Pied Piper, where Richard, who's the main character. For those that are listening, if you're into tech, if you haven't watched Silicon Valley, show. It's such a great show. But there's that episode where Monica, one of the VCs, literally goes after they've built everything. And remember, they had the whole room and she's like, Richard, did you not take this technology and actually do a user case and run they send it
some
to their
testing?
Friends, and they're all techies.
They're all techies. They're like, oh, this is great. But then they went. Then they went to who they were going to sell it to, and everybody was like, this is junk. I would never use this. Yeah. So I think that's exactly.
And they get the Piper chat to help out, and just it's
awesome, so good. So I don't want to pull a Pied Piper.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How do you see the company TAPanGO evolving in the next 5 years? Which is 5 years is a long time, right? It's a long time, but it's not, considering 2023 feels like it was yesterday. Yeah, I don't know. Or even 2020. But 5 years, quick answer. Obviously, growth and scale. We'll have already had our first 2 major products in the market. We are a North American play. Renter Rewards is going to solely focus in Canada for year 1.
ATHLETICA Rewards is going to be focused in the US only, connected to the name, image, likeness space with all the stuff happening in the NCAA world, which we're excited. Again, everything that has to do with financial literacy and wealth literacy for the student amateur athlete. We've got some great partners in there. So that's kind of our predominant focus. And then in 2026, really looking at that full North American experience for both of those programs, and then some licensing deals. So really excited about one of our licensing deals. I guess you could call it like a white label. It is a little bit more of a partnership in the pet space with a former CTO of mine. So we're just waiting for some big things on that side for their team. But again, that's what the whole purpose behind TAPanGO is we can start to do some great licensing with communities that we feel people are passionate spending time and money, and we could actually support that company with taking our technology and advancing it. But I think come year 5, honestly, Jeremy, it'll be interesting. The question at that time, obviously, if you have investors, it's like, hey, are we able to get some money and get out, or can you buy us back, or can we do an IPO? I think for myself, I keep saying it, an IPO would be super cool. I think in the fintech space, if there's a potential to do something along that line, I'm not gonna say that is what we're gonna do. But I do feel that's one opportunity, and the other is going the M&A route, where we become a dominant force and we end up being able to go out and start to acquire merchandise companies or brands, and start to build almost like an authentic brand feel, or we're strategically placed with some bigger companies where we actually own some of that market, and start to become the investor in a larger portfolio. And I really like that thought process there.
Yeah. And I think the licensing is very interesting.
Thanks.
So I think a lot more is going to come that way. I presume. Who knows, right?
Who knows?
I guess test one and then see what comes out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Test the waters, baby steps.
Yeah, exactly. What's one big lesson you've learned as a fintech founder?
One big thing as a fintech founder. There's a lot, but if I was to share in any knowledge, I think the biggest thing is, and definitely came into play as an athlete, is just don't be fearful of failure, because in the space, it's so new. Considering, obviously, I'd say the last decade, we've seen the advancements in open banking in other countries. Canada still has a long way to go. Payments Canada, hint, hint. Michelle Bayo will definitely be laughing when she listens to this. Well, we'll get there. I think so. Yeah, I think don't be fearful of failure, and that for me is a big thing I always kind of focus on, because you get a lot more no's in all senses, regardless of whether it's raising capital, whether it's, hey, I'm trying to do this, or you're trying to get a client meeting that you've been waiting for. You just have to be really persistent and not be fearful that the door is shut. You just got to keep trying. Keep trying.
And what's one thing that, or what helps you stay motivated as a leader and CEO, and organize also? How do you do it?
How do I do it? Okay,
you have a team, right?
I know. I got a team. I was going to say, dream team and other people. You have to build a dream team, and you even have to envision who else would you be adding to the minute that you can, right? I'm always about that, because I don't even I don't personally, and now I've grown into that. Honestly, I would give up the CEO role in a heartbeat. So if anybody wants a CEO role and they want to take over, game on, because it's a challenging title to take on, because it's not really founder. There's a differentiator. I classify myself as the founder of TAPanGO Technologies. Okay. My area of expertise and specialties is storytelling, marketing, sales, direct sales. I absolutely love that. I think over learned time, I've become a better leader, and if you want to call it a CEO, because I've had to put the hat on, right? You have too.
Yeah.
But I think that hopefully answers that one. And I think on the time management side, it's just something that from high school to being an athlete to then getting into university and having to time manage my skills between being a full-time athlete and a full-time student,
which can't
and having
easy.
A job,
right?
Did I have somebody tell me what I needed to do? And this was when apps didn't exist, and you didn't have Palm Pilots were such a thing, but you couldn't afford that as a student. So everything was on a paper calendar. But I think, I think it's just been a trade over time. And when my first job as an executive assistant, in government, I was a scheduler for somebody else. So being on that side where I actually had to manage somebody who was a senior executive leader, her travel, where she was going, when she was coming, all the minutes, all the meetings, having to do that, I had that respect of, gosh, like if I could manage that for her, I could manage that for myself when I get to that level. And that helped. For sure, that helps.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I remember you texting me, like responding to my message, like I don't know if it was a Friday or Thursday, but you were like, it's Friday and I'm doing this, I'm catching up basically. And because sometimes when you have so many messages, you just can't keep up and do it every day.
Yeah.
So if you organize your days, then you do it once in a while, and it's a bit more, it's helpful, right?
Yeah.
If not, it just
it will run away. I was kind of say everybody's so busy today, right?
Yeah.
Like we get, and especially as a business owner. So I always kind of say, number one, you have to take time for yourself. That's most important. You have to take time for your loved one if you have a significant other and children. And then you also have to take time for your family, like extended family, if they're still around, because they're not going to be around forever. Yeah. And you don't want to have that regret. So I think, I look at time as one of these precious things now. And for sure, if you can manage that and you set those boundaries, because if you're not willing to set the boundaries, I always get asked the question of like, how do you work out like almost every day? And how do you keep so fit? I'm going, how do you not? Like, I'm like, it's like saying to somebody who's a freaking coffee lover, like, don't drink your cup of coffee or don't have that cigarette, which you shouldn't have that cigarette, but you get it. Like, I think there's that kind of ability, like putting up your own boundaries for yourself and setting those limits to say, to that point, Fridays, just like you said, I'm really good at, I'll message people back, but I'm like, hey, today's a day for me to catch up. Yeah. I'm not taking on any calls. I set that boundary for myself and I do the best that I can. Like obviously there are circumstances where that changes, but in my mind, I try to take Fridays as that day to catch up. So I know going into Monday, it's like, wow, I did this. I know what next week's like. And Sundays are my day off. Like Sundays are like full on friends, whatever I'm doing. I'm on the bike, which so many people know. So it's like, hey, I'm in Gatineau Park. If I'm in Ottawa, come find me. Yeah. There you go.
That's awesome. Yeah. So one last question.
Yeah.
Is there one person or, it could be two that really change either your business, your life, like a vision, right? Because sometimes we meet that person and everything changes.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely a few. I'm going to mention, and he knows it. Like I've said it a ton of times. We haven't connected in quite some time. I just saw him at an event, the Thai event during Toronto Tech Week. John Ruffalo. And he's a great name and a big name here in Canada who's paved the way for a lot of entrepreneurs. He was the president and founder of Omer's Ventures. And now he's the founder of one of the largest funds. So like more like Series B, C, like we're talking like 25 mil plus from Maverick. John and I used to meet like when I was in Toronto at like literally at First Place, Brookfield Place. At the Starbucks downstairs in the basement. And there was days I remember him leaving his workout and running with his gym bag just to sit down with me. And this was when the company was 8929, Canada Inc. kind of thing. And it was super funny because, John was one of those key people when I was sitting there, and Athletica was the name. And he's a big an athlete and recreational athlete. And he's got a story, which for people that know, he had a tragic accident and he's in a wheelchair now. So he's an advocate around executives and disability. But John, at that time, when I met him and we were meeting, he looked at me and he said, he's like, I need you to think bigger. Yeah. Right. He's like, I need you to think big. Like, I love that you, like me and you, we both love sport or we both love working with people and running companies. But he literally painted, he goes, I get Athletica Rewards, but imagine if you're building a technology like Athletica Rewards, if there was another niche where people are passionate and spend time and money. Imagine in 5 or 10 years time, if you want to expand this company or somebody acquires you and they go and take that and they now launch like 5 or 6 different communities and niche markets, like think bigger. So that was John. Like John got me to step outside. And it's funny because there's that fear that we always have as founders where it's like, stay super focused, make it really simple, be really direct. And that's what I did with Athletica. And then when I went to somebody like John, he's like, I love how direct you're being, but I need you to think bigger on how direct you are.
Yeah, because sometimes you have blinders and you're like, I got my thing, I'm doing my thing. And then it's like somebody else is going to open up everything and you'll be like, oh my God, this could be 10 times bigger. Yeah. But I didn't think about it. I do wish, like I look back now and I should have launched and could have launched just Athletica Rewards back then. And then eventually went, oh my gosh, I could take this technology and do more. Like that fear of failure of launch as well. Cause the pandemic did add lots, but we are
2025. So I do get a lot of pushback, which is totally legit from anybody on why is it taking so long to get this going. Building a marketplace is never easy.
No.
But John Ruflo would be one. Sorry, that's a long explanation because he's just kick-ass. Everybody needs to Google this person. He's a sensation for Canada, what he's done, and working with CCI as well for us as founders. Next person that's changed my life is my mom. Like, honestly, like I'm going to go back to grassroots. Like, I think home is where the heart is. She knows it. I say it all the time. Might cry. But like, she was this key person that my parents got separated when I was 13 years old. My mom left, was in an emotionally abusive relationship, which I'm very vocal about now. And I think it's really important for people to get out of unhealthy relationships and talk about it. Yeah. And I got to see that as a young woman. And my mom was she didn't realize it then, but she knows it now. She was a very badass woman. Like, she had an executive job. Yeah, very strong. She was educated. She did her master's while she had a full-time job because she wasn't allowed to technically do her master's. Like, it was all these things that I learned as I got older. Yeah. But she advanced herself in education. She was an HR director on Vancouver Island at a prominent post-secondary institution. Then she got headhunted to go, when I was graduating in 2004 from university, after separation, over to the Emirates, when the Emirates was looking to merge men and women's colleges into one. Like, she was a part of that change. Oh, wow. So, to imagine from 13 to being a young woman in my 20s, to see my mother step out of that relationship and then herself blossom, I have the utmost respect, because that made me realize, wow, like, there's opportunity and there are incredible men and women that can support and elevate and care and love you. And I think having that as a part of my role model has set definitely a lot of passion behind why I want to give back to families and communities with support and finances and understanding that, because my mom went through that hardship as a single parent, helping my brother and I. But yeah, that sets the tone for definitely a lot of my DNA.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So my mom and John, there you go. There's two.
Perfect. That was a great conversation.
Yeah.
I think thanks for coming, and hope to talk to you again.
Absolutely. Anytime.